Who is Mr. Talib Al Abdul Mohsen? He is also wanted by the Saudi authorities, but Germany refused. And he was also featured in one of the documentaries of BBC regarding atheist asylum seekers in West, especially from Arab countries. Just about blame every living, dead, and about to be born Muslim.
So all told, I think this is a very, very absurd effort to revive Islamophobia. I don't think so anybody is ready to buy that.
This was also intentionally done in order to divert the focus of the genocide taking place inside Gaza, inside Lebanon. And back in 2023, his police case was also submitted by his neighbor that he has an intention to kill German citizens. Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to the TFT Perspective. Views unfortunate news coming from Germany. A terrorist attack took place in the city of Magdeburg last night, and around 2 people were found dead, and around 60 to 80 people have been injured, 40 of them seriously injured. More unfortunate news is that the unfortunate incident took place, but the bashing that came and trolling that came on social media after this incident was to just about blame every dead, living, and about to be born Muslim in the world. That's how things are now. It's cool to blame the ills of a single person, doesn't matter who he is, on about more than 2 billion Muslims across the world or the multiverse. Because who knows, far right believes that Muslims are everywhere in every universe these days. So basically, what this attack entailed was that initially the mainstream media did report that this was a terrorist attack. The suspect name was being hidden at times. Far right nationalist groups reported that, yeah, this must be someone from, having an Arabic sounding name or a brown person, because that's the usual victim blaming card they play. And this is exactly what the news came up. So Mr. Talib Al Abdul Mohsen was the suspect who was involved with this. He was taken down by the officials. In fact, he is arrested right now. So there was a lot of hue and cry all over the social media. Even accounts like from Mr. Musk claimed that this is the reason why we have to support alternate for Deutschland, a party which has far right tendencies, and a lot of socialist circles inside Germany do blame them as the new Nazi party inside Germany. So Mr. Musk need to be very careful when it comes to siding whose side he's on these days, especially on the platform which is actually decoding exactly what the events were and how the entire agenda, which was being sponsored by Zionists and extremists all across the globe, came down as a brick of cards. So, who is Mr. Talib Al Abdul Mohsen? Well, let's take a brief look. Is a Saudi-born person. He moved to Germany and sought asylum there in 2006. He practiced his psychiatry over there, became a doctor later. And shocking that, according to his social media bio, he is a staunch Islamophobe, an ex-Muslim, as well as a Zionist. So that's his bio. So let's take it from here. So basically, according to his ex profile, he blames all the ills happening inside Europe, inside the West, on Muslims. And he was also featured in one of the documentaries of BBC regarding atheist asylum seekers in West, especially from Arab countries. And the BBC also promoted his website. He provides services for people who have different sort of opinions inside the Arab nations for asylum inside different Western countries, including Germany mostly. And he also blames Germany for being the root cause of allowing Islamization to spread and allowing, Sharia law to spread in Europe. So that's the kind of the suspect we are dealing currently. So it's not the first time, actually. The Western media has done this buffoonery before as well. You remember what happened with Mr. What's his name? The alleged Trump shooter who was also caught, Thomas Crook. He appeared in a BlackRock commercial. BlackRock is very famous these days, especially when it comes to supporting Ukraine, giving an opportunity for Ukraine to set up perception inside Ukraine or lobbying efforts. Another video was of famous Mr. Ryan Ruth, the first shooter of the alleged assassination of Donald Trump. He was also part of a propaganda video sponsored by the CIA, and it actually promoted the neo-Nazi Azov battalion. So that's that kind of mainstream media we are dealing these days. So going back to Mr. Talib al-Abdul Mohsen, he is also wanted by the Saudi authorities for, I will not say this word, but it rhymes with grape. And the Saudi Arabia is a Muslim country. They asked for his extradition from German soil, but Germany refused. So that's by and large the agenda the Western nations and their extreme wing parties are actually propagating on social media, is that criminals wanted by even Muslim countries are thriving in the West. But the crux of the debate on social media was to just about blame every living, dead, and about to be born Muslim. So, in order to discuss this issue, we have with us Mr. Waqar K. Korvi. Practically, from a terrorist attack to an attack, now ex-Muslim, or the media is in a fuss when it comes to reporting this incident.
I think we'll start with the BBC, and I could see in the Urdu and English version saying that a Saudi citizen, and as you're mentioning that they were already in touch, they've done a documentary. Were they in a doubt that he's not a Saudi citizen? And I just want to ask the West, all these asylum seekers, anyone who moves from, let's say, Asia, Africa, and settles there, gets the citizenship, why they should always refer, whenever there's something bad, For instance, if you have a boxer who's Pakistani origin and wins, then he's a British boxer. But if, let's say, somebody commits a crime, then it's a Pakistani British. So I think that basic Islamic phobia is prevailing. Islamophobia was, I think, seriously contested by the Islamic world, and I think even saner elements in the West. And by and large, it has started dying down. In West Asia, we have seen what the Zionist lobby, I'll not say common Jewish people, but the Zionist lobby has done to Gaza. They've done to Lebanon. They're now doing it to Syria. They've killed.
In fact, one of his tweets, he suggested that the parts that the Israeli forces are occupying in Syria are going to live in peace now.
Yeah, so that's what their concept is, that it's going to be very, very peaceful. And so actually Israel's perception, the soft power actually got a huge dent since 7th October 2023, and now we've crossed 1 year. And it's become very, very difficult for Israel to restore. So it means that you have to, one, of course, despite whatever destruction you are doing, and blatantly violating international law, you have been indicted by the ICC. Netanyahu has been, I think, also criminalized. But here you would like to, one, try to now address this, I would say, badge of terrorism and genocide that they have gained. So what is the best thing? Again, revive Islamophobia. And that's where I think I'll point out that BBC should, I think they should be ashamed that they went up to basically claiming and I think creating doubt. And social media, that first, I think 2 to 3 hours are important.
Yes.
So everybody is not going to recheck or go for myth busting or fake news checks. So when the word is out, already it is gone to millions and I would say billions of people. And maybe later on they'll come up with a small little, correction that, but he was basically a German citizen. So I feel that Islamophobia has become now a tool, especially in Europe, to basically political point scoring, and also now manifesto political parties. Like you are saying that AFD or we are going to have the elections for Bundestag in February 2025 because Olaf Scholz's government is gone. And
according to a survey, they are coming in like second right
they
now.
are number 2. But if Sir Elon Musk is supporting them, there are all the chances that AFD would win. And now there is also, I think, a response coming from some of the senior, I would say, parliamentarian. And in Germany, they said basically that Elon Musk's message for AFD or support is threatening and irritating, because this is blatant interference in German politics.
Yes.
And Elon Musk is not a normal person, definitely. You know what? How much
Now
he
he's part
con-
of the government.
Yes, he's
Yeah,
part
you
of
should be
the
very careful.
Dodge, Dodge government, Dogecoin and Dodge government. So all told, this is very, very unfortunate that people of that stature. He's not a social media, keyboard warrior. He owns, and he's the richest person. Then, of course, he claims that entire mainstream media is all garbage, and X is the one which allows, free, let's say, freedom of expression, and real news
Nah,
comes
I
from
think
it.
he himself is gonna be meeting a lot of community strikes now.
Yeah. So, anyways, so all told, I think this is a very, very absurd effort to revive Islamophobia. I don't think so. Anybody is ready to buy that. Demographically, Europe is already facing problem. I know that, and I think we did predict it long time back. You wrote an article in 2009, I think, where you mentioned that basically demographic is going to impact hugely on Europe. In Europe, people talk of Eurabia, that basically means it's going to become Arabized or become Islamized. And there are reasons for that. It was not for the love of Muslims. It was basically for the economy of these countries, that a lot of immigrants, and they've been formal colonies also. Like
Yeah.
you had Britain, British colonies all across the world, and a lot of people would then go there, study, and get settled. And they are the one who started. The immigrants started 24/7 work concept.
Mhm.
Otherwise, in Britain or United Kingdom, people used to go to sleep at 7 o'clock, and there was just concept of 8 hours. So 3 shifts of 8 hours were done by the immigrant, and this boosted the economy of European countries. Even I think now Olaf Scholz did acknowledge the contribution of Syrian immigrants in
Mhm.
German economy, and they are worried that when they start going back, what happens to their economy. Although on the other side, you find that a lot of hue and cry of immigration, invasion, and tsunami of immigrants. When you deliberately target MENA region, especially, you've targeted Libya, you've tried to target Egypt. Syria is into civil war, Iraq, uh, part of Afghanistan. And then, of course, there is a pull and push factor that people like to go. So millions of people have migrated to Europe, and they are being utilized in all kind of industry, agriculture sector. And the other side, the political parties would like to play on immigrant card. And then, since Muslims are a major part of the immigration, they would like to bring back the bogey of Islamophobia.
Yeah, so it's a very strange phenomena. They cannot maintain their economies when it comes to their stagnation, especially when it comes to Western societies at large. And at the same day, they also want people to, no longer immigrate to Europe. They want to throw every single immigrant out of Europe or out of America. If that's the policy, and if the people who have been seeking asylum there actually do go back to their countries, what does Europe and America have after that?
I remember we visited Greece. This was like 2006, 7, 2007. And there was a minister of basically was responsible for immigration, and we had a discourse with him. And he was complaining that a lot of Pakistanis come through illegal channels and all that. And I asked him that how much human resource you need in next 10 years, Europe. He said 150 million, because Europe can't function without it. So it means that definitely, and you look at the demographics. I'll just refer everybody to 2 books by Pat Buchanan. One is Suicide of the Superpower, and one is The Death of the West. It's basically on demographics. And he had basically said that in future, and he I think this came in 2005 to 2007, these 2 books, or 2009. And he predicted that in next 2 decades, all the engineers, the labor, the soldiers, the scientists, IT experts, agriculture workers will come from a developing world, because you don't have the manpower. Just look at Spain and Portugal. Today, if you look at the maps, I think the central portion of Spain is almost empty.
Mm-hmm.
In Italy, there are villages which have died.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's, and they're giving incentives for people to come and stay. So I think this is a very hard fact. And even Germany, despite that, when there was reunification of Germany after the end of Cold War, and East Germany, which had demographic potential, joined. Still, in order to maintain that, I think, growth of economy, they needed immigrants. And if you look at the demographic profile, the age profile, it means that there's an aging, they call it aging population. Basically, there are a lot of people who are old. Like even during COVID, why Europe suffered most was because almost 25% of population in some of the country was above 75 years. So it means that your services sector, anything to do with it, requires human resource. Everything cannot be automated. We have seen what has happened in Russia-Ukraine war. Both sides are suffering huge loss of manpower. So you can't even fight your wars. Why are you bringing mercenaries? You know these, the what is that? Georgian legend or Georgian brigade. Then you have the Wagner group on the other side. Then you have Africans going there and fighting. So even for, I think, conduct of war, you need human resource ultimately, despite that you have drones and technology. So coming back to, I think, politics, there's already talk of white shift. There are books which have come on white shift, which means that now, and they actually perceive that by 2050, the demography will turn it upside down, that there'll be more immigrants than the whites. So mainly it's affecting the white population. And by 2075, there'll be a serious problem. There are certain countries they feel that will cease to exist as far as the white population is concerned. It means that the white shift is already taking place. Now the immigrant is into politics. So your question, I think there was a long answer to that, that why certain parties would target immigrants despite that they need immigrants. I would say this is more of a pressure tactics, because immigration would continue. We know that from Pakistan, we had almost exodus of 7 to 8 lakhs youth every year. This has been the pattern in last 10 years. So almost closer to 1 million diaspora Pakistan lives outside, because there is a pull factor also, despite the push factor. So it means that you need them. Now you want to coerce the population, immigrant, so that he works like a slave. He doesn't raise any voice. He doesn't get involved into any political activity. That's where the right wing comes in. And they can thrive on it. We have seen what has happened in London riots. Even I think Trump's policy of throwing out the immigrants, but who's going to run America?
Exactly.
It's a huge, it's a continent. So all told, I think this is more of political gimmickry. The right thinks that right wing thinks it's Marine Le Pen in France or AFD or even in Italy. I think you have a right wing already ruling. In
Poland
Hungary,
as well.
Poland. So they feel that they can do some point scoring, but otherwise they can't do it without immigrants.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Other than that, don't you think that this was also intentionally done in order to divert the focus of the genocide taking place inside Gaza, inside Lebanon, whatever Israel is doing right now? Because the most propagation that came from social media circles actually did come from those who were supporting Israel or Israel itself, regarding that we need to get rid of them, we need to get rid of immigrants. So if that's the overall agenda when it comes to perception management on social media, and it's backfiring now, since it's now an open book. A person who has pro-Zionist lineages, who is also a supporter of the AFD, is committed this act. And back in 2023, his police case was also submitted by his neighbor that he has an intention to kill German citizens, because that's the only way, he told his neighbor, the way they're going to learn, because of my Arab name, not because of who I am. It's just because I have an Arab name, they might think that yes, the problem is with Islam at large. So was this intentionally done?
Maybe it was done, but I think the change, you make a very fine point, that in the war of perception, especially in information domain now, it has become very important to drive your narrative. But as they've lost, because even if you compare two wars, in Eastern Europe, Russia-Ukraine war, there's a very different narrative. We know that there are right-wing, neo-Nazis fighting there. There they talk of, let's say, one side occupying Ukraine, despite Russian sensitivities, and basically they have a reason for that. But definitely they will say there are the blackouts because of Russian bombing. It is always talked, milk shortages for kids, and exodus of civilian population, innocent civilians, innocent children. But in Gaza, same narrative doesn't apply.
Israel has the right to defend itself.
And it has the right to actually now expand.
Expand itself.
Expand itself. So it's not an occupation as far as Syria is concerned. But what's the change? Now, if you come from, let's say, go back to 60s, 70s, and by and large 80s, and even start of war on terror, that means start of 21st century, The West domination on media, because on the other side they just had, let's say, Soviet Union, which was not really Anglophone. So by and large, they are able to convince the entire world. So you had domination of the media by CNN, BBC, France 24. You had Le Monde, you had DW, or some of the. But I think with the advent of social media and awareness of the rest, especially in the developing world, it's very difficult to now basically run the narrative based on lies. You cannot do it. So this is the change. They should acknowledge it. That's why some of the Israelis get confused that nobody is listening to their narrative. And so you'll find these stories coming up. I feel that has become, although for first few hours they'll keep it, let's say, driving their narrative through mainstream media, but ultimately this will be debunked.
Hmm.
So it means that even this news was immediately, verified. People came up with the idea, and now they are, I think, retracking their initial.
No, a lot of people are actually saying, I don't buy this. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's also a concept of, there's also some groups that don't usually consider religion as part of the problem, but also culture as part of the problem. They are also coming up with strange terms. We don't care if he is a Muslim or not. He is Arab.
I think I just wanted to check when your research. What is the response from India?
Yeah,
I'm sure they must have joined the bandwagon.
They were doing that with their full support for, they usually do that. But in other news, Trump has also announced that he's going to put 100% tariffs on Indian products. So full support to them.
So I think these are challenging times for everybody. The West should also realize that even in social media, it's demographic which is going to count. So you require numbers. You can't put bots there, and you can't buy everybody with money. So entire world is now connected, and fake news has limited life. It could create some impact. It has limited life, and they should rather look at facts than fiction.
So that's it for today, folks. Please do leave a like and subscribe our channel. Thank you so much for watching us. Bye-bye.